Happy Friday, y'all. Tiffanie Kellog here for another week's version of Women Entrepreneur Living Child Free. And I'm super excited today to be joined by Sarah, who is going to be our guest. Welcome, Sarah. How are you on this fine Friday?
Hi there. I'm doing fabulous. It's absolutely gorgeous here in Asheville, North Carolina.
I love Asheville. We get up there whenever we can. What's one of your favorite things about Asheville, North Carolina?
Oh, well, I do love the weather. Like I've really been studying it over the last couple of years that we've been here, and it's really well proportioned where you can enjoy each part of the year, which having lived in Florida myself for at least 20 years, that was like not an experience. So I'll go with that for now.
Nice. Well, we're super excited to have you in our Women Entrepreneurs Living a Child-Free conversations that we have. And I'm curious, what attracted you to the thought or the idea of hanging out with other women entrepreneurs that are living child-free?
Yeah, well, for one, it's very unique, right? That's not like something that gets advertised or that you see. At least I don't in my world on a regular basis. And I am child free. And it is by choice, which I think in general, right? If you don't have kids, it's by choice. And it was a choice. And I love being connected with other like minded people. So that's the main reason, because you could certainly be child free and it would not be the container I'd want to be in. But because you create a container of women that I'd want to be around, right? That makes all the difference.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been looking for this container of women for like 20 years. I've been just searching for that women's organization that I just felt a part of, and I could just never find it. And last year when I learned about child free, I'm like, maybe that's what's missing. Though I am finding not all child free people are nice. But this group is all about the supportive, let's lift other women up and enjoying a life where we're getting a hard enough time from enough people about not having kids, as well as a hard enough time of you're crazy, you started your own business. And so you put those two together, it's like this Venn diagram of,
yes.
And it's one of the things I love about hanging out with women like you is because you're like, I've got the backbone, I've got the oomph, and I'm ready to do some amazing things. And so I'm super excited to have with us today's guest. And I've got her bio, y'all, and I probably won't get through it all, but we'll see. One of these days I'm going to read the whole thing through and I'm going to be like, oh, that was awkward. I said I usually stop 8 times during the bio, and I didn't. But we're not there today. So super excited here. So today's guest is a powerhouse when it comes to helping entrepreneurs go all in on their dreams. With over 20 years as a psychotherapist and now a transformational coach, life coach, Sarah Leslie helps women break through their fear and self-doubt so they can create wealth and success without the burnout or hustle. Now, I probably should have stopped before we got there because I'm like, okay, let's talk about, how you go from being a psychotherapist to a transformational life coach. But now I'm really intrigued about the no hustle and bustle, because we hear people so often talk about you got to grind, you got to work hard. So I think I want to start there, and then hopefully we'll get back to the how you got where you are today. But tell us a little bit about this idea of how we can do it without the grind, because I feel like that's what people tell us all the time. You need to be grinding, you need to be hustling, you need to work hard.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to make it happen.
Yeah.
Right? And we get this notion of like we got to work really hard now and then we can enjoy it later, right? And that's a very common story. We've all heard it. And what I help people do is get radically clear on what it is they actually want. And to me, that's oftentimes, I will say in most cases, the thing that's missing is lack of clarity around what they're actually desiring. And then you pair that with the belief that they actually can do the thing that they really want. And lo and behold, the hustle and grind literally dissipates. So it's less about even how we don't have to hustle and grind and more about, I was literally just on the call with one of my clients an hour ago, and we're talking this very same sentiment through around how do I allow my current role to be even easier? And it's usually about a pivot in the thought of the way that we're currently looking at the work. And sure enough, by the end of the call, she was like, okay, I can totally see how next week is going to feel so much easier.
So tell us a little bit about the process that you kind of go through. Give us a couple of tips, because I know you talk about how we can kind of overcome a little bit of this. But y'all know this, as I'm asking people to share tips and tricks and techniques, it helps us get started, is to give us a flavor of what they do. Because what I typically find is where I get the most is working with an expert. And we'll actually give you an opportunity a little bit later to work with Sarah. But just to wet our whistle, get us going, give us that little taste.
Yeah. Okay. So literally building on what I was just sharing around vision.
Okay.
I would offer to sit down. You really don't need very long. It's like 15 minutes at most, to ask yourself the question, what is it that I really want?
Mm.
What is it that I'm desiring, that I'm longing for, that I know is like just out ahead of me, but it's kind of like fuzzy and I can't really see it nearly as clearly as I would like to? Or maybe I spend time thinking about it, but it feels far away from me. So the act of literally sitting down and then asking yourself that question and then spending about 15 minutes writing it out. Game changer.
So you said take 15 minutes, sit and write it down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on where you should do that writing down, because I have my own thoughts of where I get creative and where I work, but I want to hear yours first and see if we're in line or maybe we have different ideas.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think the most important things would be that you're in a space where you feel really comfortable, where you feel really safe, and preferably where there's very few distractions, and or you do what you need to do to not have distractions. And then even before the like official sitting down, if we will, to really allow yourself to do something beforehand that loosens you up and gets the creative juices flowing, so that you're in the mind space of, ooh, I can have this vision, this thing that I've been longing for. It can happen. If we come to it like it's a homework or a writing assignment, we're probably not going to let ourselves access the deeper parts of us. And so we want to, for me, it's like I could take a walk, or I could listen to some music, or I could play with my dogs for a few minutes and just allow myself to be in like, oh, yes, that's right. I really like my life. I like what's happening here, or whatever your current situation is. You at least like this moment, and allow yourself to loosen up, to feel open, to feel expansive, and then come and sit down in that safe place where you feel creative.
Love it, love it. Yeah, and that's way better than what I was going to share. Mine was just like, don't do it at your desk. Um, so yeah, you got way more, and I love the idea, because I don't know that I would always think of, okay, let me get in that right mindset. It's like, let me sit down and do this task. But it's like,
Yeah,
for me, I love to meditate or do some PQ reps. So that sounds like something I might do before
perfect.
our little puppy play party.
Yes,
Yeah, I find my dogs are a really great way sometimes, and they'll tell me if I've been on my phone too much, or
yes.
if I need to. I mean, both of them. Harper like comes and puts her foot up, and I can never take a picture of it because I'm on my phone. She's telling me to get off, so I need, I guess, my husband one day. But like, she'll put her paw on. He'll like look his head over and be like,
So
"You need to
cute.
look too." Yeah, but to me, like, I can't ever do it at my desk. It's interesting because
Yeah.
I have my desk set up here, and I actually was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, I have a small desk, so I don't have too much other stuff to do, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's why I have a pretty small desk compared to some people's setup. But I'm like, I don't want all the distractions. It's really, here's where I'm at when I'm doing Zoom. I
Mm.
don't find myself being creative in this spot. Now I
Hmm.
have a laptop, so I've got other places that I go, but it's rarely my desk. This is a creative space.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that you're bringing up, because we traveled, my husband and I, in the first few years we got married, we traveled around in a camper van.
Oh,
And so we had a lot of movement. And whether we were staying in the van or we were staying at some place, at an Airbnb, I was consistently making an office,
mm.
continuously making an office for myself. And so there's that same sort of feeling of like, okay, this is a small space. I'm fitting in here. And it didn't feel super creative. It didn't feel super expansive and like excite me. And what I have since created here in the current space, as you could see from my background, probably a sentiment of it, the whole space has been really curated, like super, super intentional curated to feel deeply creative. Because again, I was having that same sensation of like, oh, I can't really get all the things done that I like really want to be working on, or I can't allow myself to go to the place I really want to go in my mind when I sit down at my computer. Right? Because for most of us, we've been trained for 20 plus years to sit down and be studious, like take it very seriously and get your work done. And so naturally, that's not the state of being I want to be in really ever, if I can help it,
Yeah.
because like that sucks. And of course, there's a time to be serious. I'm certainly not saying to never be serious, and to allow ourselves to really be present and be however we want to be in any given moment. And so for myself, I went through like a branding course that was really more about helping yourself in every facet externally to get lined up with the you that you're desiring to be right now. So for me, that was about actually, I was working on a laptop for quite some time. And now I have like this huge monitor on my desk. And I have this hot pink chair over here to the right where I can at any time get up, go over there, meditate, lay down, because I wanted to create a space where I could feel like really creative and really relaxed. So I know not everybody can do that, and everybody's at a different part in their journey. And I say that just to say, like, I went many years where I didn't have a space that allowed me to feel that way. And I also had those spaces out in my regular house. This is like really the first time in my remembering that I have deeply curated the entire house to feel so warm and safe and comfortable. And I didn't even know what I was missing out on, right? Because it's not like I didn't put time and effort into my previous spaces over the years. It's just that this version of me prioritizes how I feel inside of every space I go in.
You know, I'm sitting here reflecting because I've got my safe space. So I'm going to show y'all, and some of you that if you follow me on Facebook, I did an MTV Cribs live like 3 weeks ago where I showed off my office. But so this is my office. So there's the door into my office, which my dogs were barking. I've got some plants going on. There's my TARDIS because that's how big of a nerd I am. My husband made it for me for Christmas one year. And then here's my big comfy chair. I do a lot of work. That's my mini sword wall. There's the stand-up desk. I stand up sometimes in front of the TARDIS. But it's kind of like, here's my workspace. And so, yeah, I want to curate, like, and this is my Zoom corner. So I don't have to worry about if the office is a mess, which if y'all can see, the office really isn't a mess because I don't like messy stuff. I just like the calm of it. Though I'm laughing as we're talking about this, and I'm working on curating the rest of my house because we've been doing a remodel, and so we're getting to that decorating stage. But how many people out there are like, well, yes, of course you and Sarah can do that because you don't have kids.
Oh, yeah, that's probably true. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, people are like, well, of course you have room for your own office. You know, how many kids do you have? And I'm like, none.
Yeah.
And I laugh because I remember when I bought this house, my dad was, because I was 23 when I bought this house. And my dad, I've been here in Florida for 20 years in the same house. I'm kind of a creature of habit, though I like to travel more, but I like this to be the home base. But my dad was like, do you really need that big of a house? Because it's about 2,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms. Yes. And I'm like, at the time I did because of, I'm like, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And now I'm like, it's brilliant because there's so much space to spread out and make those spaces. And so for some of us, we have the house and the space. For those of you that are watching that are like, but my kids have all the space. Maybe it's leaving the house to be creative. And that can be if you have kids or not. Getting outside sometimes, go to the dog park, even if you don't have kids. I mean, even if you don't have dogs. Yep. Going to the kid park if you don't have kids can sometimes be creepy. So,
yeah, although I do think as women, we normally can blend in okay with that.
The ladies would probably be okay. The men.
Yeah, I love that. It's interesting because when I do work with women that have kids, I help them to prioritize, hey, where is your space? because it's not really okay that you don't have your space. And this is very common. I mean, even being without kids, I used to live in a very small apartment, and I lived maybe a block from the beach, and it was a studio apartment. Why? Because I didn't believe that I could have a bunch of space. Right? Like somehow it was wrong if I got like a 2,000 square house and it was just me. And so it's like, where do we get that idea from? Right? That's like not an idea what we want to be walking around in the world with. Because then when we face things like, we order food at a restaurant and we get the wrong thing, we're going to be less likely to say, hey, excuse me, this is actually not what I ordered. And a lot of other examples I could give you that come from that place within us that's like, don't take up too much space. Don't be too big in the world, right? Fit within your what's appropriate. And so again, when I'm working with women that do have kids, it's like, hey, we need to find your space. And when I work with women who don't have kids, we need to find your space.
So if I'm hearing you right, ladies and men too, but y'all, we all need our own space, whether it's physical or would metaphysical be the other, where,
Yeah. I will even say, like, I do think physically we need to find our space, even if, that same studio apartment, my husband and I actually went back to that apartment and stayed just like up for a vacation trip. So we were there for a short period of time. And I realized like, ooh, I am going to need more space than what I had thought would be available for me for the time that we're here. So I literally created a little mini like office space in the walk-in closet because I was like, this has to happen. Like I have to have an actual dedicated space for me because we were there for maybe like 3 or 4 weeks. And so I did. I cleared out the closet. And I've heard of many women who have cleared out a closet to create, whether they're creating a podcast studio or they're creating a little mini office for themselves or literally just a retreat for themselves to be able to go to either get away from the kids or get away from their significant other or just have some time and space that's without distractions, right? Because that's the other thing that ends up happening when we're in our house. Oftentimes we get distracted with ourselves and with the things that are just right around us. So it really does make such a big difference to make sure that you have a really clear, dedicated space for you.
Awesome. So that's a fun little tangent that we went on, y'all, of, okay, so let's take 15 minutes to write. What do we really want? And then we're now in creating that space for us. But I think that's a really good point because if we're trying to force it, and I think that as entrepreneurs, we force it a lot because we feel like we have to.
Yeah.
And I know for me, sometimes I've had a problem in my head for like the past week and a half. Finally was able to talk to it, my mastermind on Wednesday, my coach on Thursday. And this morning, I'm like, it's all clear in my head. But I needed that time and the space to work on it. So I know we got other stuff we want to talk about, but anything else you want to add? Because we're doing this 15-minute workshop. We know how to do it with ourselves now. Anything else you want to add on that before I want to hear how you got where you are today?
I guess I'll just bring it back around to how we started, which is around this hustle and grind, right? So as we've made space for ourselves and we've sat down or we've found a place that we could be in that's free of distractions, and we're allowing ourselves to consider this vision, you just already, hopefully, as you're listening to this, can feel a decrease in the hustle and the grind. Because you're right, just like you said, Tiffanie, there is so much pushing and forcing and making it happen. And so simply by doing this very short exercise, you should and will, if you practice it, start to feel even less of that hustle and grind.
Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much for sharing those tips, y'all. Leave us ideas in the comments how this worked. Maybe even share pictures of your space if you've created one or if you have one. In the meantime, though, let's talk a little bit about how you went from being a psychotherapist and probably what is a psychotherapist to being a transformational life coach. And what is a transformational life coach? Because whereas I've heard these terms for many years, I don't know that everybody else has. And sometimes we have, sometimes we haven't. And we all have our own little definitions of what it means. So tell us Sarah Leslie about yourself and what
Yes.
those two professions are and how you got there.
So psychotherapist, which personally, I'm just like, who wants to be called a psychotherapist? That doesn't have a good ring to it. And it's basically a therapist who does therapy, and talk therapy is specifically around mental health and wellness. And I did that for about 20 years. My heart was to be able to help people, and to help people who found themselves in situations that they couldn't figure out how to get out of. And at the end of 20 years, right, in that time frame of probably more like 17 to 20 years, I started just getting very restless and feeling the nudge that something new was coming, that I didn't really want to continue to have these specific conversations that I was having in the therapy room. And I really wanted to work with people who were similar to me, in the sense that they're going all in on their lives, that they're really determined and dedicated and ambitious to create the life that they really want, and just not sure how to do it. And so it was just a matter of time and my own mental pivoting to be able to recognize, oh, there actually is something out there that I could be doing. There is a way that I could be creating those kinds of transformations for people. And so it is the reason that I left the therapy room to create my own virtual space, to be able to coach and to support and to empower women and men, and really just everybody, right? I say everybody, to be able to find their own unique space and place in the world. So that's what it means for me. Oh, I lost you. I can't hear you anymore.
Oh, I muted because I was looking at something. Y'all see, that's what happens. Why don't you? So I'm back to the bio. Yay. Because as she was talking about, she helps her clients. So she guides her clients to master their mindset, trust their inner wisdom, and build fulfilling lives and business. And I love that you kind of put those together, because so often people are like, it's the business or it's the personal. And I'm of the mindset, and people can disagree with me. They disagree with me all the time, that as entrepreneurs, especially, we can't disconnect in the same way that 9-to-5ers do. And that's kind of what I call people that have a job where it's salaried or hourly or whatever. Mad love for y'all. But it's a different mindset. And while I'm a big believer in we need to be able to disconnect, I do feel like our lives are more interwoven than your average person as entrepreneurs. And that we do have to find that harmony of the two of them together.
Definitely. Yeah. I think of entrepreneurship as a lifestyle.
Mm.
Right. And so why do we go into entrepreneurship? I mean, most people are motivated, at least at the core level, to have more freedom, to have more autonomy. And so when we think about doing that, what we're really after is a different kind of lifestyle than the quote unquote 9-to-5 job. And that said, I will say for myself, and just the type of person that I have been for so long, I never felt like I was really able to separate work from my off time. I would definitely find myself thinking about my clients and thinking about how I could help them more, and what should I be reading and studying in my quote unquote free time to be able to be even better when I was at work. And so now in entrepreneurship, it just feels more in alignment. It feels more genuine. It feels more authentic. Because back there, I would be telling myself, you really shouldn't be thinking about work because you're not at work, because that's like one of the sentiments that's out there in the world.
Right.
And now it's just like, yeah, this is my lifestyle. So sometimes I'm thinking about this, and sometimes I'm thinking about that. And this afternoon, I'm going to be thinking about this other thing, versus trying to really compartmentalize, because as humans, I just don't believe we're designed for that, personally.
No, I'm with you. Yes, everything kind of ebbs and flows, and to try and
this doesn't work.
Pull it all together. I'm all about the fun, so I'm like, yeah, let's bring fun into all of the things that we do. And speaking of fun, so Sarah loves traveling, deep conversations, and dancing whenever possible. Now, did your love of traveling have anything to do with the traveling that you did when you were younger? Can you tell us a little about that?
Yes, I definitely feel like travel is just, it became a part of my experience very early on. Growing up, my family moved every 3 to 5 years to a new location. And while I did not necessarily enjoy that as a child, I learned to appreciate it over time and the skills and the resources, internal resources that it helped me to create. And it also gave me a love for seeing different parts of the world, different parts of the country. And I think also just at like a core pattern level, I now will get sort of what I call the itch to be on
Mm,
the move every, 3 to 5 years. And I've shifted from actually needing to move to incorporating in some sort of travel or incorporating in some sort of overnight adventure or opportunity to go visit some friends or what have you.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, I've been back and forth because I've been here for 22 years now. I'm like, wow, that is a long time to live here. And we are traveling more, but I'm kind of like, I like it as the home base
Mm-hmm.
and being out and about because my husband travels for his work. And so sometimes I'm just like, okay, let me, where is he going? And, sometimes he doesn't even come home if he had something in between. So it's like, yeah, it can be more nomadic
Yeah.
and get that urge. Where is on your list of, I can't wait to go there next?
Paris has actually been on my mind quite a bit.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
about Paris draws you there?
I think it's one of those cities that you watch in a lot of movies naturally, right? The romance for sure. And also I've seen some non-romance more. I tend to gravitate more towards murder mystery
Oh,
and have seen Paris pop up in some different places. And then 2 years ago, we went to Quebec City, right? And so it's like a different version of Paris. And so my heart really was like, ooh, I would also love to go to Paris.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
Any idea when that's going to happen? Or the universe hasn't made that apparent yet?
I've had it on like this is my desire for the last year. So I'm thinking it's probably going to happen sometime next year.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Do you know any French?
I know Je m'appelle Sarah. And I did download an app when I was really thinking this is going to happen really soon. And I started teaching myself or reminding myself of French because I did take it in high school. Yeah,
So nowadays there's Google Translate and half the world speaks English depending on where you go.
this is
So
true.
so speaking of where do we go? I know you have an amazing offer for the ladies out there. And I know that some of the people watching this are women entrepreneurs that don't have kids. Some of us watching this are women entrepreneurs that do have kids. And y'all, just to clarify, either way, this is open, I think, Sarah.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
open to both our kid-free and our with kid community. Again, we are all about choose what makes you happy. We are not judging you. Either way, she works with both those type of ladies. Tell us about your offer today, which I was like, is this even right? This seems really like overly generous.
Yeah, I work with a small group of people. There are two ways to work with me. So I work with folks one-on-one, and then I have a mastermind that launches usually like every 8 months. And so that's starting June 4th. And it'll be a small group of 8 entrepreneurs. Again, everybody is welcome. And the one-on-one is for about 6 months. And so I really want to get to know people before we make the decision to start working together. So my offer is when people are ready and they're like, yes, I want to be at that next level. I want support. There's this great big vision out there for me, and I just can't figure out how to get there. My offer is to join me on a conversation where I help you get radically clear with your vision, radically clear with exactly what's slowing you down or keeping you from getting there. And then if it does feel like a good fit, we'll talk about what it looks like to work together. So it's a 90-minute call.
And we've got here on the screen, so bit.ly/ y'all, I know bit.ly, sometimes they are case sensitive. So do pay attention. Consult with Sarah with a capital C, a capital S. I've had people be like, they don't work. And I'm like, they're case sensitive. Like, why they can't be not case sensitive, whatever. I get it with passwords, not with Bitly, but hey, you know what? Bitly is an amazingly free service, so I should not be complaining. Was that a complaint? I just
an observation.
I restarted the no complaining challenge yesterday, so I guess I'll have to
I love
decide
it.
is that a complaint for today and start over.
That's awesome.
All right. And so you shared, y'all can go check this out. You can check out her mastermind. You have a conversation with her, see where would be a good fit in. where can we find you if we just want to reach out to you, or online, all of those fun
Yes, the
details?
best platform to reach me to like really get a sense of me is Facebook, my personal page, Sarah Leslie. And then I'm of course on LinkedIn, and also my email, sarah@sarahlesliecoaching.com.
That makes it super easy, y'all. I love that we're part of this first generation of branding that we got our name. It'll be interesting to see what the next few generations do as a
It's
result.
true. Yeah.
Though they won't be our generations related to us, but that doesn't mean that we can't still be there and love those future generations. But for those of us that are child-free women entrepreneurs, we do have a Facebook group, Women Entrepreneurs Living Child-Free, where we talk about the stuff that's going on. We are creating a community that networks the fourth Wednesday of every month. This is just a place for women entrepreneurs who have chosen not to have kids, who are celebrating that, to come together. It's about business. Just without the flavor of what you have to do as being a mom, or the kids stuff going on. So we're super excited about that. We hope y'all all join us. I want to say thank you so much, Sarah, for being here today and sharing with us. And I want to give you one last opportunity. What else would you like to share as a final closing thought with our community out there?
Ooh, so to fit with what we've already talked about today, I like to add in, or I would want to offer to the group, that you have the opportunity to create exactly what you want for your life experience. Don't let it go to waste. I feel like I won't say that I wasted, and there's a sensation of having wasted many years feeling at the behest of other people, only to reach a point in my own life of like, oh my gosh, this absolutely has to change. I cannot keep living this way, which then has allowed me to get to where I am now, which is a radically different human than I was 10 years ago. So that is available for you as well.
Sarah, I want to say thank you so very much for being here, for sharing your wisdom, for helping us have that idea of what is our vision, how do we have that mindset, how do we have the space in our space to do that, and really just taking it and making it whatever it is that we want. Today is the perfect day for us to start creating the rest of our life.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank
Thank y'all
you.
for watching. Happy networking, y'all.